Hello everyone, welcome ladies and gents, all ghosts and ghouls alike. Welcome back to the underworld and welcome back to News Within The Necronomicon. And we open it up once again to look at all the recent news and announcements that came out pretty recently regarding everyone's favorite convention, Comic-Con. I'm Ghosty and I'm joined by me, myself, I, and all the voices in my head. And them voices have to talk about a lot because there's a lot to talk about and a lot that was revealed. But it is, if you've seen it already, it's mostly all about Marvel and or DC. And if you've been on the channel whatsoever, you would know that DC Comics and Marvel are both pretty big. Not only in general, but in my eyes as well. So, I'm going to talk all about that. There are some things that were announced and were revealed at Comic-Con, but for me, personally, the things I want to talk about are all DC and Marvel. So, I'm not going to waste any more time. If you're looking for a specific topic that you want me to talk about, it will be in the description of the video. You can go check that out at any time. But let's talk about it. SDCC, aka San Diego Comic-Con. Let's read about it and open it up and check it out. So, if you don't know already, Comic-Con as a whole, in general, Comic-Con is a convention every year that happens that goes over everything either comics related or what you could call nerd culture. Anything that is related to comics or fiction, have it be comic books, have it be video games, pretty much a whole umbrella of stuff that's related to comics and or, like I said, nerd culture. But with how companies have been dealing with this stuff and how they have been using these characters and these beloved franchises, of course, the big priority is going to be films and movies and movie making and as a whole. So we got a lot of films and announcements and all that stuff, which of course is a big thing, and of course something I like myself too. But going into this one, I had massive expectations, and of course I expected a lot. And of course I was hoping for a lot of everything that I would like. And we did get a lot of stuff. I mean, you probably see the duration of the video, so there's a lot to cover and a lot of stuff that they revealed, and that's only Marvel and DC as well. And like I said, that's what I'm going to be talking about. But for me, I was really excited for Comic-Con, and I genuinely was hyped for it, and I was looking forward to it. And now that it's out and I've seen what I wanted to see, I kind of think it was a disappointment. It may not be a disappointment and lackluster for a lot of you, maybe even a select few of you, but for me, personally, I think I had my expectations a little too high. Some things I got exactly what I thought we were going to get. Some things that I was hoping for we didn't get at all, even mentioned. But other things, kind of, a little detail here and there about some things, which of course we'll all get into. But as a whole, I was really excited for it because, like I am for every other year, time and time again, Comic-Con has come and wooed everyone. And this did for a lot of people, but also was lackluster for some others. And for me, I think I fall right on the fence, but a little more on the bad side. Because, well, Comic-Con is this massive convention. It is the grand stage for comic book fans and anything related to comics or games or anything like that. So, of course, there's going to be things I'm looking forward to and things I want to see. But, like I said, sadly, I think it was a little disappointing. But that's probably because I'm at fault. I set my expectations way too high, and I set the bar and held it highly while looking at everything related to Comic-Con. So maybe I did get my hopes up, and that's, my fault. But for what they did show, I'm here to talk about it. And some things I do like, and some others I'm a little iffy about. But again, it's all about my opinion. So let's flip the page in the Necronomicon and for the video, because we got to move on to the next topics. Because trust me, there's there's a lot. So, starting off with DC Comics, one of the reasons I said this was lackluster was because there wasn't much DC at all. And again, is it maybe because I want to see more DC stuff? Yep. And again, my opinion. But we'll talk about this first because we'll save the best for last when it comes to the Marvel stuff after DC. Because, I mean, if you're here, you've probably already seen what they revealed. But for DC, first up is Riddler Year 1. And we've known about this for quite a while now, actually. But we got to first look at it now. And I could say I'm really interested in this. It's about the Riddler, obviously. But it is about a specific Riddler, and that is the Batman's Riddler from this year's movie that I went over already on the channel. We're taking a look at Paul Dano's Riddler. The comic itself is also written by the actor that plays Riddler, Paul Dano, and It's basically Riddler and I guess his origin story, kind of, and how he became the Riddler and how his character ended up being how he is in the movie. The artwork is looking good, as you can see on the screen, and it is all written by Paul Dano. And I'm curious to see where he takes it and how deep we go into the Riddler's mind, and we learned the actual mechanisms that is his mind, that are an actual enigma. But we can get past that on and go to the next one. But I will say, I have my eye on this riddle, and I'm very excited for it, and I can't wait to see the answers. But staying on the similar topic of this Batverse, this new Batman universe that started with this year's The Batman, we have news about the Penguin show coming out on HBO Max. The filming will start in February of next year, and that is way too long away, because of course I just want to see it and watch what happens. I cannot wait for it. I just want to see it already, but now we know when they're going to start it, and maybe make an estimation around when the show will actually release. But for now, that's all we have. Not only for the Penguin show, but that's also all we have for this Batman universe. No news for the Batman 2 or announcement or anything. I mean, it's already been announced, but just why not mention it, you know? Get some hype around it. But it is what it is. Next page. Which is Gotham Knights. A game that I've covered and I'm really excited for, but every time they release something on it, it always brings the hype down for a lot of people. Not so much me, but for this trailer, they did do better with it. I will say, they released a trailer showing off Batgirl. They showed off a trailer with Nightwing and Red Hood together, then they released one with Robin, and now they released one with Batgirl. And I can confidently say, she is pretty damn good, and she looks like she's among the best, gameplay-wise, and pretty much everything-wise. She looks badass, and she looks like she plays really well, and if she's not the best, then she's definitely still pretty high up there. I still want the game, and I still think they should release more gameplay on it, and new gameplay before it's released, because the gameplay that we've gotten so far, like actual gameplay, wasn't the best. And I still think they should release new gameplay before that, but obviously I'm doing this, and I'm not on the Gotham Knights team or anything like that, but I think it would be a rather smart choice to do that, considering their last gameplay was pretty cheeks. But that's all for that. Batgirl looks pretty good, and I'm still excited for the game regardless. And now we can move on. Which is welcoming a new entry in the underworld, aka the Realm of the Dead. Because this is actually dead. Comic-Con has revealed to the world, and revealed to everyone, and announced that the Snyderverse is now dead. They made it pretty clear, and now we know that Zack Snyder will not be returning, and hopefully it will be good for DC, so they can move on and do whatever they want to do going forwards, and not have to worry about that, or any fans begging them for that. We did get the Snyder Cut of the Justice League, which I did watch when it did release, and I enjoyed it. I never hated any of Zack Snyder's work, but I wasn't one to beg and just ride Zack Snyder all along the way and pay attention to his every move. I wasn't one of the people that would root for it or go against it. I was on the fence about it and was really interested in anything they would reveal. So, we have what we have now, and I've been interested in some stuff, others not so much. But we do have new DC projects coming out, but now we know that none of them is from Zack Snyder or his vision. We've seen his vision already, and they said that and made it clear that the Snyder Cut is the last of what we're going to see from Zack Snyder. So to any of those Snyderverse fans, or to those who were rooting for him and rooting to see it, sorry, not sorry, but it is now gone and buried. But what's not gone and buried, but is now born from rage and rising, is Black Adam. And we got a sneak peek from Comic-Con for Black Adam, and I can say, I think it looks fairly well. I'm not sure what the motive was into making Black Adam into his own movie, and making him the main character, when they could have just set him up as a villain for Shazam 2, which we'll get into after this. But Black Adam as a movie itself is looking good. I'm really glad they're bringing in characters like Hawkman and Cyclone, Atom Smasher, and mostly Dr. Fate. And of course, Black Adam himself. And the Comic-Con sneak peek showed us that he is no hero, and I'm glad they're going down that route. Because a lot of these solo villain films that we've been getting, seems like they're making the villain a hero or an anti-hero when they're not. A lot of them aren't that. And now that we see Black Adam is still a villain, maybe there will be a bigger threat and like an antagonist of the movie that they have to team up together to fight because it's stronger than them all. Maybe something along them lines. But for the most part, Black Adam is still a villain, and he still is the menace that he is. So I'm glad we're seeing that, and it's going to be really cool seeing him put off against all these different heroes, which are all making their live-action debut, with Black Adam included. So hopefully with them and the movie, they do well with it, and I really hope they do shine and make the movie something special. My expectations are not too high, but also not too low. So hopefully they do this movie and characters justice, while Black Adam also brings his own form of injustice. Which brings me into my next topic. When we're on the topic of justice, Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Obviously the sequel to Shazam, they released a trailer for it. And we have, of course, Billy Batson, and now all the other kids that he's became friends with, and also kind of family. So we have the sequel for that coming, and it looks alright. It looks decent. Not too good, but nothing awful. The first movie, I think, is a pretty good movie. I think it's actually one of the best DC movies to come out in the recent years. Considering all the controversy went around, Shazam was doing its own thing, even though it had a more comedic side. But it is Billy Batson, and he's a kid that can become a superhero at any time. So it kind of has to have that aspect somewhat, and they do it really well. Like I've stated before, I'm not sure why they haven't decided to put together Shazam and Black Adam just yet. Maybe they're just leading it up and wanting to build hype around it. But for now, we don't have them meeting anytime soon. I don't think the second one will be as good as the first, but I do have high hopes for it, and I think they'll deliver when they try to bring that charm back. And of course, everything else that made it special in the first place. But Fury of the Gods is coming, and I'm interested in it. Not too much, not too little, but I will be here for it anyways. And now, I do have to be the bearer of bad news and bring up that, unfortunately, for this year's Comic-Con and this video of News Within the Necronomicon, that is all for the DC Comics portion. That is all that DC has announced and revealed and really show at the Comic-Con. That's all they showed off, and that's all there is to talk about. So, that's enough of that, and we can move on. Obviously, I do wish there was more from DC, and I wish that they showed off more, but that is what it is, and that's all they have for us for now. So now, we can get into Marvel. Mostly, or pretty much all of it, the MCU, or the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I know there's a lot, and even bigger announcements, but I'll save best for last, and I'll talk about that as a whole. So firstly, we'll talk about the kind of more minor stuff, well, because there are big, major announcements in this. So we'll start off with this first stuff, which is the animated shorts, or animated shows coming, that aren't really necessarily canon, but are going to make for pretty cool shows. Like the first one, which I'm a big fan of, obviously, Ghosty, The Underworld, Realm of the Dead, all that. So I think it's safe to say that it's self-explanatory, because the first one up is Marvel Zombies. And just by the title, we can all tell what that is. It's an animated show coming, probably to Disney+, and it's all about Marvel Zombies, which is obviously inspired and directly influenced from the comic line Marvel Zombies. I would say maybe even a carbon copy, just turned to animation, but they're probably going to give it a little MCU touch on it, so maybe not fully. I'm not sure yet, we got to see it. But the one detail that we do have about it is that it is R-rated, which is an incredibly good thing, because that means they can not hold back. There are lots of really good and gory moments in the comics, and they could make it all into animation and put it on Disney Plus if they wanted to, which is pretty good. It's pretty good. That's going to be badass. I really do hope they don't hold back, and they really do show off violence. I'm hoping maybe something like Invincible and how they deal with gore and blood. I'm really hoping for that, because this is beyond blood. This is zombies, and they can get to the very down to the dirtiest details with bodies and gore and all that stuff. So not only am I interested in this, but I'm actually really excited for it. I really do hope they don't hold back, and I'm really looking forward to this, and really am curious and interested in seeing what they're going to do. But that's enough for that, and we can move on to the next thing, which is also a non-canon animated show. But this one is a show that's already been released, but we're getting a season 2 for it. And it is What If. We've learned that season 2 is in the making and will release around early 2023. No exact date yet, as I know at least. And cool, I'm interested in it. If you don't know, What If is an animated show already on Disney Plus, and it's basically about alternate universes and different scenarios. It says in the name, what if this character was this character? Like how they put T'Challa in the role of Star-Lord, or how they put Peggy Carter in the role of Captain America, or in her case, Captain Britain. There's a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different alternate timelines that they could use for this. But What If Season 1, I think, was pretty good. It was entertaining, to say the least. And just to see how things would pan out and how they would write different scenarios. So hopefully Season 2 will be as good, hopefully even better than Season 1, and maybe they'll get even bigger and even grander with it. But for now, that's all we have, and I'm interested in it. I'm going to be here for it. And again, there's not much to it other than that for now. So we just have to wait and see and ask the question, what if? But I will say there is no questioning old shows coming back, because the next one is a continuation of a very old but iconic series, X-Men 97. Something I did not expect from Comic-Con at all. They're continuing X-Men 97 on Disney Plus, which is going to be amazing to see, and I cannot wait for it. Hopefully they do it justice, and hopefully it is good as the old series. I'm not even a huge fan of X-Men, even though I would like to be, and I should read up more on the X-Men and should get into that more. I just don't know too much about them compared to other things, but I cannot wait for this, and I'm going to watch it. I'm not sure if there is a release date right now, but we have got our first look that I'll put up on the screen, and safe to say, hopefully, at least, they're in good hands. So we'll have to wait to see our mutants, but for now, we'll move on. But of course we're not done with our superhero friends, nor the animated shows, because this is the last one that I'll talk about, and it is the one I'm most looking forward to, and the whole friend thing is really in the name, when it is the friendly neighborhood, Spider-Man, because we're talking about Spider-Man Freshman Year, an animated show coming to Disney Plus, and I cannot wait for this. Not only is it an animated show I know I'm going to love, but it's Spider-Man, and Spider-Man being one of my favorite heroes. Not even just that, but one of my favorite comic book characters. Just any Spider-Man project or anything related to Spider-Man attracts me, and I love it. And I end up always loving it, whatever it is. And as we can tell by the title and some of the images, it seems like we're taking a look at Peter Parker in his early years, or early days, whatever you want to call it. It was supposed to be MCU related, and I think it was supposed to be canon in the MCU, but obviously it looks like they've changed directions. But it still is the same premise. It's Spider-Man and I guess kind of his origin, or as the title says, Spider-Man in his freshman year of being a superhero and I guess high school as well. We see a much more comic accurate Spider-Man and much more comic book related Spidey or Peter Parker compared to what they did with the MCU, which I was really excited to see more MCU Spidey. Even though I know it wouldn't have been live action, I was still interested in seeing more of him, maybe his Uncle Ben and his start and his origin. But it is what it is. We're getting a whole new, different Spider-Man, it seems like. Maybe we'll see this one's origin, maybe not. I'm not sure, but it's a different starter suit than the one in the MCU. The world around him is different, his friend group is just for the show pretty much, and even the villains are changing. So everything's pretty much brand new. And they have different takes on the villains, and different takes on, again, Spidey's suit, and different takes on pretty much everything. So I'm excited for it, and I'm curious and interested in seeing what they're going to do, and how much they're going to change things around, but I still think they're going to keep the heart and soul that is Spider-Man, and keep him what makes him a hero. I'm really excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. Really, anything new Spider-Man comes out, then obviously I'm for it, but a new animated Spider-Man show on Disney Plus, I think they're going to kill it. But I think that's all, and actually, before I do go off this, I love the title and how the coloring is, and it's on paper. It's just so fitting for Spider-Man. I'm not sure how else I would describe it. But he can web sling on out of here, and we'll move on to the next topic. Which is kind of animated, kind of not. Well, actually, it pretty much is all animated. But this one is all CGI. Because we're diving into next is I Am Groot. The upcoming show, obviously all about Groot, and that is the title of the show. I'm not quoting the character Groot. The show is called I Am Groot, but it is about said character. And it is about him doing his own little thing and having his own little adventures, which is it's going to be cute, it's going to be funny. It's probably going to be enjoyable no matter what they put in it, no matter what they do. It's probably not going to be important, but it's a little few-part series that's going to come on Disney Plus. That's all CGI related. Some things look a little wonky because they did release a teaser trailer, so there is that if you want to watch it, and you can see some shots on the screen. But for now, that's all we know from it, and we don't really get that much from the teaser. We just know that Groot is on his own little journey, and we'll have that in the show. So it's cool. I'm going to enjoy it. I know it's going to be enjoyable because it's just a bunch of little random stuff with Groot and these little creatures and all. But it is what it is. But now we can move on to the next things, which is even bigger. And now, unless you want to call the live action stuff CGI and call that animated because of it, we're actually moving on past the animated stuff now. And now we can get into the live action stuff and the more MCU stuff that they revealed and announced. And this is also where we'll be finishing off. But it is a lot, so get strapped in. Which actually, before I do move on to the MCU and the Marvel stuff, like the live action stuff, I want to talk about a thing that they did reveal. I'm not sure if it is related to Comic-Con, but I'm saying it as the Comic-Con news is coming out, so I'll put it in this video. That is John Wick 4. It's not connected to Marvel, nor it is connected to DC. It's its own thing, and it's its own franchise and series, but they're making a fourth movie for John Wick. And I hope you all know who he is. He's the boogeyman. He is the John Wick. He's played by Keanu Reeves, and he has 3 movies out already, and they're all pretty damn good. The first one is the original, obviously, but it is also the best, which, for some reason, a lot of people think that the original is always best for a lot of franchises and a lot of movie series, which I don't really see. But John Wick, I definitely see that, and the first one I still think is the best. But I think the second and third are both pretty much as enjoyable as the first one is. And they just amp it up every level, each movie, and I can't wait to see what they do with the fourth one. But I'm excited for it, and it looks pretty damn good. So can't wait to see that. But now we can actually get to the Marvel stuff and move on to the MCU. Which brings us to the most recent thing coming up, She-Hulk. They released another trailer for She-Hulk, and my god, it did a much better job at being a trailer for the show than the first one did. I think this one embraces everything that the show's going to bring, and I think it displays it pretty well and gives us an actual good deal of what the show's going to be about and what it's going to be like. There's a lot of better stuff in this about the powers, the villain, everything that's going on with Jen Walters, and even Bruce Banner. We don't see Frogman, sadly, in this one, but we do see a certain someone at the very end, and we'll get into him later, but that is Daredevil, or if you'd rather call him Matt Murdock, that's the same thing. But he's back. He is returning. We'll get into him later because another announcement that you probably all know. You can't wait for me to talk about. But we'll get to that. But She-Hulk looks pretty damn good. And this trailer does a lot better than the first one does. And she even has fourth wall breaks, which is really cool. And I like that a lot. And maybe even push everything like any other joke characters or comedic characters when it comes to the wall breaking. They push that forward with She-Hulk firstly. And I think they could do that pretty well. It depends on how they execute it and how they do it, really. But can't wait to see it. And I think the hype is more for this show. Not only just because of Daredevil, but genuinely because I think the trailer does a much better job than the first one did. And it got me more intrigued than the first one. But She-Hulk is coming. And if you want to go watch the trailer, go do that whenever you please. But now we can get to one of the 2 big announcements from Marvel at Comic-Con. And that is, firstly, MCU's Phase 5. And I'll talk about each project individually, but I'm not sure if I'm going to change the imagery, but I'll just talk about each thing. But my god, there's a lot. This is obviously the big announcement. I honestly expected this, like exactly this, because a lot of conventions that we have Kevin Feige or someone, I'm pretty sure it's always him though, come out on screen and do something exactly like this and reveal a timeline of projects, and this is what I expected, and this is exactly what we got. I expected exactly what we got, and not too much stands out for me. It depends on your liking, really, but let's talk about it. So, firstly, as we see, February 17th, 2023, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which is honestly one of the bigger projects out of this. to my liking because I really like Ant-Man and the Wasp. And what's not my favorite out of these? Actually, a lot of them do shine more than others, but that's like later on. Quantumania, though, is bringing in more of the quantum realm, obviously, and more of that stuff. And we even have MODOK confirmed as the villain, which I'm surprised they never even brought him in until now. But finally, they're using him, and hopefully they do him good. He's a great villain, and he's a big antagonist in Marvel, so hopefully they do him justice. And I'm actually most interested in that, and the whole Quantumania aspect. So that's Ant-Man and the Wasp for you, and hopefully they shrink it down enough to where everyone can enjoy it, and hopefully it's not too packed, because it sounds like it could be too much. And then after that, we have Spring 2023, Secret Invasion, and it even says Disney+. So this is a Disney Plus show, and it's not a movie, but they could do it really well. I know it is a comic line, and it's a good comic line, but for the MCU, they always change things here and there, and they always spice it up a bit, or change it altogether to make it their own little thing for their liking and what they want to do with it, and their whole cinematic universe. So I understand it. We just have to hope that they do this well, because in the comics, it's a big thing, and hopefully it is the same when it comes to MCU. I'm not too big on this, but I don't know too much about it and what they're going to do with it. I'm pretty sure the only things that we see of Skrulls is mostly in Captain Marvel, I think. I could be wrong, but I never really watched Captain Marvel, not going to lie. So that's maybe why I'm not too interested in this. But the comic line, sure. What Marvel is going to do with it, live action wise, we have to wait and see. So that's all there is for that. And then next up, we have on May 5th, I think that says, 2023, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Which this is a movie I can make a whole different video about on its own because of my own thoughts and predictions and like just expectations kind of. Because I think a lot, and a lot of the things that I've thought before were basically confirmed. We know that this is the last that we'll see of the Guardians, and it's going to end on a trilogy. The first one is great. Second one is, in my opinion, probably even better, just because I like Ego more as a villain. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, we know the villain is the High Evolutionary, and we know it focuses more on Rocket Raccoon, and we know that this is the last of the Guardians. They even have comic book accurate costumes, which is going to be awesome. I can't wait to see that, especially Star-Lord, because with that helmet on, it's going to look great together. But we know that this is going to be the last of our Guardians that we know. So I hope they do it good, and I think they are going to do it good. I trust them. It's probably going to be James Gunn directing it again, and so far, he does not mess with these projects. He has the Guardians of the Galaxy, he's had the Suicide Squad, he's had Peacemaker, and now we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So I do not think he's going to miss again. Not that he missed before, just saying I think he's not going to miss with yet another project. Just, a new one's coming out. So we have to wait and see what it's really like. We don't have any trailers or anything like that, so we can't really judge it. We only see and hear stuff from the plot details and things like set photos where we learn that they had comic book accurate costumes and things like that. So I'm excited for this, and I think this probably does shine out of most of the stuff on this image that you're looking at. But for me, cannot wait to see it, and I really like the Guardians. It's going to be sad to see them go, but hopefully they end out with a bang. And then next up, summer 2023, Echo, a Disney Plus show coming. And if you don't know, Echo is the adoptive daughter of Kingpin from the comics. So we have Kingpin coming in, and he was already in Hawkeye, so it's not like he's not in it already. He's already in the MCU, and we might even see Daredevil throughout Phase 5 as a big character. Well, actually, it's in the MCU in general, because we know he's going to be in She-Hulk now. She is a lawyer, and now he's going to be in Echo. If he is in Echo, it's a possibility, not confirmed. At least I don't think it is, but he could show up in Echo because of that. But I'm not really interested in this. Maybe mostly just because we maybe get to see more of Kingpin and his side of things. But for the most part, I'm not too interested in it. But obviously, I'm going to be here, and I'll watch it when it's out. Or maybe it'll be like Miss Marvel, where I don't really watch it necessarily, but try to, keep an eye on it and try to pay attention to it and see if anything important goes down. Because that's, again, I didn't really watch Miss Marvel, as I wasn't really too interested in it, and that's why it's up on the channel. But hopefully, Echo, maybe they do something special with it, and maybe they'll make it something actually really good. We'll just have to wait and see. And now the focus goes on another show that I'm sorry for this, because I know a lot of people watched it and liked it, but I didn't watch Loki, so I'm not really interested in the season 2, but I'll probably watch it and I'll probably like it and end up watching the second season. But for now, I don't really have much interest in it. I know the first one does special things and does its own thing, so I do need to get around to watching that. But I never really liked Loki too much as a character, but I know some stuff that goes on in the show is really necessary when it comes to the MCU and important stuff going on. I'm pretty sure Kang is even in it, so I probably should watch that and see his parts. But for now, I haven't watched it, so I'm not too interested in Season 2 of Loki. But obviously, it's going to come out, and I'll likely be getting around to watching it. And now nextly is another project that I'm not really interested in, only because I'm just not a fan of the characters too much, and I haven't watched their own solo projects. The Marvels. July 23rd or July 25th in 2023, we have The Marvels. So, I haven't watched, Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel. I probably should get around to watching it because of this exact project, but I'm not really interested in it, and there's not much to say. If there's a cool villain, hopefully I'll be, more intrigued for it, but for now, there's not much to say about it, and it's just there. Unless some big stuff goes on in it, I'm probably not going to get around to watching it, but I might have to because of this, and the way they're leading things out, especially things later on, and what they revealed, so maybe I'll get around to watching it, but for now, there's not much to say about it, and that's all there is. And if you are a big Captain Marvel fan or fanatic, like Kamala Khan herself, sorry to disappoint you, but that's all. But the show is coming out on, July 28th, 2023. And that's all. And then next we have on November 3rd, 2023, another movie I'm very interested in, Blade. Blade is going to be awesome. I really, really hope they make it rated R. Well, because of obvious reasons, and Blade is a darker character. We already have Mahershala Ali as Blade. I may be butchering his name. Sorry, I might not be able to pronounce that. There's even rumors about Anthony Starr being the villain for the movie, which, if you don't know who that is, he's played Homelander in The Boys, and he does a phenomenal job at it, and I really hope Blade is going to be good. It's an action and horror movie, so they're really amping it up. At least from what we know and what we know now, they seem like they know what they're doing, and it seems like that we might be getting what we want with it, but we know how it is sometimes, and sometimes they just kind of do the same thing over and over again. But with Blade, it has to be something special for it to work. They have to do something different, and they have to make it good. Not that it's going to be bad or anything, I'm just hoping for something really good, and I think they could deliver on that. But that's Blade, and hopefully they sharpen him up and make something, again, real special. And hopefully bloody. But moving on to the next topic, we have coming in fall 2023, Ironheart. Which, not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan of Iron Man. I kind of think he's overrated, but I think he still is. I can admit that he's one of the best. And he is among the best of heroes, especially when it comes to live action and in the MCU itself. So Ironheart has a lot of potential. We just have to hope that they don't ruin it and they don't tarnish it. But it could be very special. It is a show on Disney Plus, and I hopefully they just do it good. I really like her suit in the comics. I really like how she looks and her super suit, I guess you could say. I really like how they brought Pepper Potts into it in Endgame and had her rescue suit on. I really like that, but also mostly because just the way it looked and how sleek and clean it looks. And also when it comes to Iron Man, they had that line that's like the mouthpiece. A lot of his suits, which I don't really like at all. I just like when it's a full faceplate with just the eyes showing. I don't like the mouth, but it is what it is. I still like it. I just prefer other things over some others. That's all it is. But Ironheart is a show, and it has a lot of potential. Just has to hope they don't mess it up. But the character does debut in a movie coming soon, which I haven't talked about yet, surprisingly, and that is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And there is a lot to talk about because they did release a teaser trailer, and obviously with the upsetting, tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman that was our Black Panther, since he's gone now, they kind of have to fulfill the role of Black Panther. But they're doing it in a way where T'Challa is still a canon and he still is the character. Thankfully, they didn't recast him or anything, and they're leaving Chadwick Boseman as the one and only Black Panther and T'Challa. But they are using it as an in-movie death as well, which is going to be interesting. Because it seems like that they have murals of T'Challa and how he's gone, so we still have the movie setting, and someone else has to take up the mantle of Black Panther. Personally, I think the one taking up the mantle is Shuri, but I could be wrong. But it looks good. I really like how Namor looks. I really like underwater and water-themed characters. So Namor is going to be really cool to see for me. and hopefully they use him in a creative way, because there's a lot of different ways they could use him. But we also have Atama, I'm pretty sure his name was. We have 2 villains, and of course we'll have all of Wakanda to defend their home. So it looks good, and I think they could do it really well. It's obviously going to be very upsetting and sad, but that's how it is, and they have to deal with it and move on and move past it. Especially if they want to keep making the movies. But I'm glad they're not using it just for money, and they're also showing love and honoring Chadwick Boseman. But that's all for that. I don't want to spend too much time on Wakanda Forever, so we can move on to the next thing, which is back to Phase 5. We have coming winter 2023-2024, Agatha, Coven of Chaos, which seems like the most unnecessary thing on here. She was a villain in WandaVision, and sorry for spoilers, but if you haven't seen WandaVision by now, you're kind of missing out, and you kind of, probably should have seen it. But Agatha, Coven of Chaos, it's a cool name, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. I'm going to like it. I know that. Seeing like the dark magic and her powers come to life, and just seeing that all over the screen, it's going to be cool. I like that aspect, and just the evil side of things, and having an actual villain as the main character, instead of what recent movies are doing, and that it's making a villain an anti-hero. So hopefully they keep it that way, and we'll have to see. There's not much to say. I do think it's unnecessary, but it is what it is. And again, it's just there. But you know what isn't there? In the entirety of Comic-Con, they did not announce or reveal anything about Armor Wars, which I'm not sure if it was a TV show or movie, but Armor Wars was a project about War Machine. But now, by the looks of it, it seems like it may have been scrapped, or maybe they're just not going to release it anymore, or maybe they pushed it back a little bit. Not sure what's going on with Armor Wars, but I don't know. It seemed interesting because we had War Machine back in it and in the suit and all that, but I guess not. I don't really know much about that. But they didn't say anything about it at Comic-Con, so maybe it's gone, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. But moving on back to Phase 5, past Agatha, Coven of Chaos, we get Daredevil, Born Again. And oh boy, he is going to be born again into this new Daredevil in the MCU, because we are returning with Charlie Cox and the actor for Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio. I think I don't want to butcher it, but it's something along them lines. But we have the same actors for Daredevil and Kingpin. I'm hoping they bring back Foggy Nelson and Poindexter or Bullseye, the same actors at least. But obviously he's coming back. This is going to be an 18-episode series on Disney Plus, and obviously I can't wait for it. This is one of the biggest takeaways from Comic-Con, and one of the biggest announcements that they've revealed to us. Not only Phase 5 as a whole, just Daredevil Born Again. The title of the show alone got so many people out of their seats, and so many people are cheering on for it, and I cannot wait for this. The Netflix show is great, I think. I think it's done really, really well, and they do great with it. And each character really does feel like the character coming to life, and not an actor behind it. Each character is true, and the story is great, and I think Daredevil shines really well, and mostly all the characters do in Daredevil. And I hope they're going to do the same thing with this. They could mess it up a little bit. Hopefully, maybe even make it rated R. Hopefully, I'm not sure if it is rated R or not. It might be confirmed. Maybe not. I'm not sure. So I'm not going to spread false info if that is the case. But it is true. We're seeing Daredevil return in Daredevil Born Again. Or I guess I could have said he's being born again. It would make sense. Daredevil is coming back, and I can't wait for it. And next up, we have not only a new movie, but a newer Captain America, New World Order. And, of course, we have Sam Wilson as Captain America now, after Cap and the Winter Soldier, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. After that show, we now have Sam Wilson fully fledged as the new Captain America in the shoot, and now he has the shield. He's returning, and this is going to be his first movie. New World Order sounds like it's going to be pretty big. It sounds like maybe it could be on like a secret society kind of level thing. New World Order just sounds like something pretty big. We have Bucky Barnes returning, of course, too. And, of course, again, Sam Wilson. And probably some other characters that I'm not really remembering. But when it comes down to it, the two main characters that we have is Captain America now and Bucky Barnes. But we gotta wait and see. We don't know too much about that past the title and release date. So we'll have to wait and see more of it. And I'm really intrigued to see who the NWO actually is and who the villain is. Because it could be Hulk Hogan. I don't know. It's the NWO. It could be anyone. But I'm looking forward to it. And it's definitely a big title within Phase 5. But yet another big title, and rounding off Phase 5 as a whole, we have coming July 26th, 2024, Thunderbolts. It is a movie, and it is about a team. Obviously a team of superpowered beings, and in the comics, it can relate anywhere. There's a lot of different characters that join the team, and a lot of different characters that have been on the team here and there, so this can go really anywhere. But we do know a big character that might show up is Baron Zemo, because he's a pretty significant role when it comes to Thunderbolts in the comics, so maybe he'll come back, but maybe not, maybe, I'm not sure, because I'm pretty sure we did see him last get free, so maybe he will make a return somewhere along the lines, but I'm not sure. But that's all I really have to say for that. It's cool. I really don't know too much about it, and I don't know whether or not I want to be interested in it or not, because again, we don't know too much about it, but hopefully we get more news along the way. And now, Phase 5 is finished. It's complete. Obviously, we haven't seen everything, and we have to wait to see it all unfold, and everything to come along and hopefully sway us off our feet, and hopefully deliver something really special. But for now, that's all for the news for Phase 5. But we have some news about Phase 6, which is even more interesting than Phase 5 is. Obviously, there's some things that shine in Phase 5, like Blade, or Daredevil, or Captain America, Secret Invasion, whatever you want to say. Phase 6 definitely gets my interest more than Phase 5 does, just because of the titles alone. And these titles are, firstly, November 8th, 2024. Finally, Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four. Then after that, on May 2nd, 2025, we get Avengers, the Kang Dynasty. And after that, we get, on November 7th, 2025, Avengers Secret Wars. And this is all under the name of the Multiverse Saga, which I think is fitting for the world-ending scenarios that's going on and all the big, grand, worldly scaling stuff going on. Everything's on a much bigger scale than even before, probably. And there's some very high stakes. And we're going to see that as the movies and shows play out. But we have Fantastic Four finally coming in. Finally. I expected Fantastic Four to come out a lot sooner. But now they're coming in at the beginning of Phase 6 in 2024. Like I said, most of the things that I'm interested in or got my attention, we had to wait for. So that's why I said it was a little disappointing. You can see in the whole video I've been talking about. Some stuff is just a little lackluster, and some things I'm not just very interested in, and other things that do get my interest, I have to wait quite some time for. So that's why it was a little disappointing. But at least we do have release dates. But regardless, we do have Fantastic Four coming, finally. And the logo is sick, and it is on its way. Hopefully they keep John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, or Reed Richards. And then we still need to get castings for Miss Fantastic, or Sue Storm. And then we need to get castings for Johnny Storm, and of course The Thing, or Ben Grimm, whatever you want to call them. We still need to get casting for them, and of course the villain. I'm hoping the villain is Doctor Doom. I'm really hoping, but we don't know until we see it, obviously. Doctor Doom could honestly be the big villain. They could have made it him, and made him kind of the big bad villain, just like how Thanos was. But I'm pretty sure they're doing Kang the Conqueror, which isn't anything bad. Kang the Conqueror is also a grand villain, and I think he's going to kick ass, and he's probably going to be just as good, if not better. And then after that, we have Avengers, the Kang Dynasty. Obviously, we're going to have to wait and see the projects roll out and play out to see how they form this, and who the Avengers are, and how Kang gets to the position that he's going to be in time of the movie, and any other villains that come along the way. Maybe they can introduce Doctor Doom. Maybe MODOK will come along all this way to this movie. We'll have to wait and see. It could be a bunch of villains, but obviously we do have the big bad villain as Kang the Conqueror. And in the comics, he lives up to that name, because his motive is just conquering Earth and taking it over. In the MCU, they could do the same thing, but also change it up a little, because we know how the MCU works, and they know how they change it up a little bit and change things here and there to make it better for themselves and how they want to do things, rather than the comics. But Kang, regardless, I think is going to be an amazing villain, especially if done right. They could do it really well. And there could be even maybe more villains included. If they do introduce Doctor Doom, maybe MODOK will live past Ant-Man and will make it all the way to this movie. We'll have to see. We don't know who the Avengers will be. We don't know where Kang will be. We don't know how it's going to take place. But there is one thing in the comics that can be present in the movies, and that is Kang being successful. he does conquer the world. And I think they might do that in the movies as well, because they have two Avengers movies in the same year set up already, and they definitely could have planned it out already. The thing is that they would have to avoid it being exactly like Infinity War and Endgame, because obviously we've had the Avengers lost in Infinity War and had it pick up again in Endgame. So now they could do the same thing if they choose to do it. I'm just kind of predicting things, but maybe not. We'll have to see. Especially when we are in 2024, we'll have to watch Kang Dynasty and then wait for the next movie, which is Avengers Secret Wars, which obviously is another huge title, and I'm very excited for it. I think the MCU is going to have to contort it in their own way, because in the comics, it's literally just this like intergalactic being, like this cosmic entity, bringing all of these heroes and villains together just to fight, and just to watch them fight, and a lot of shit happens. So obviously I think it's pretty simple, and the MCU is going to have to make it their own thing. Maybe even if they do bring Doctor Doom into it, they could use him and have that cosmic power, or if they have Kang use their power to do that, or cause the Secret Wars. Whatever the case, there's a lot to do with it, and they have a lot of room between now and then to figure it out, and they probably already have it all planned. We just haven't seen what they want to do with it yet, and how they want to set it up, so we'll have to wait and see. But obviously all these huge titles bring huge excitement and a lot of hype around this stuff, and I'm looking forward to it. Well, at least, yeah, like some of it, I said. Like some stuff I'm not much interested in, others I'm interested in, and some, like, I'm looking forward to, like this stuff. Like, I'm really into it, and others I'm just not very interested. That's all it is. For the most part, I got what I expected from the Marvel, and I expected that, like, phase kind of, like, timeline to just pop up on the screen enough for us to see it, that you've already seen. And hopefully, I was hoping for DC to, like, reveal more stuff and have more stuff to show off, but sadly they didn't. But I'm sure they're going to bounce back next year. Marvel's not even done. They have D23, which is like a Disney convention, later in the year, and so they're not even finished with their stuff, which is insane, because this is a lot of stuff, and they're not even finished. Hopefully, D23 is more of Star Wars stuff, rather than Marvel stuff, which is probably going to be, because of Disney+, so we'll see that when it comes out, and I think that's all there is. That's all there is for Comic-Con, at least, and for DC and Marvel. But for me, I was hoping for stuff, because again, I had my expectations way too high, and I just thought of things that I wanted more than things that I expected. I did expect the whole Marvel phase thing. I expected the timeline to appear on the screen, which is exactly what we got. But I can say Marvel delivered, at least. Some things are for the better, and some things I'm not that interested in. If you are excited for all this, then go ahead. Feel free to. I don't want to put anyone down for this. I'm just sharing my own opinions and my own thoughts about this stuff. It's like a seesaw, kind of. Some things I'm really interested in and I'm looking forward to, and others not so much, or I just think I'm just not interested in it, and my eye isn't really on that much. I did want some other things, like I was expecting something for Fantastic Four or X-Men or Mutants in the MCU, but we see that we have to wait a while. And that with Mutants, that includes Deadpool 3, because I know Deadpool 3 is going to release soon, and Deadpool 3 is coming, and it's going to be in the MCU. And they didn't say anything about Deadpool or Deadpool 3 at all. So that's pretty upsetting, but it is what it is, and I guess they don't have too much to reveal yet, or at least just yet. So hopefully they will soon, and maybe next year, or not even next year, maybe along the following months. We don't really know. But I think that covers pretty much everything. One thing I want to say, I do hope, that Spidey gets a suit. Either the symbiote suit or his Secret Wars suit, if he is in that movie. Like, I know it's like, we have years to get through before then. But if Spidey is in them, I hope he has this different suit. I'd love his suit that he got in No Way Home, his new suit. I really do. It's probably my favorite live-action Spidey suit. But just because Secret Wars is his own special thing, I hope Spidey gets his own little special suit. But again, we don't know too much about anything else, and we'll have to wait to see everything and how it pans out, and obviously how it plays out. But I think that's all. This video has been going on for quite a while now, and thank you for watching, especially if you stayed this long. I really appreciate it. And thank you for joining me and hearing me out talk about all Comic-Con, Marvel, DC, whatever it is. But I think that's all, and I summed up everything pretty much how I wanted to. Summed up pretty quickly without talking for too long. It still is long, but whatever. But again, thank you for watching, This has been Ghosty. Subscribe, like, comment, etc., etc., all that YouTube stuff. Especially if you want to come by and visit again for our next News Within the Necronomicon. But speaking of the Necronomicon, we are closing it for now because it is the end of the video. Thank you for watching again. Hope you join next time. And that's all. This has been Ghosty, and until next time, I bid you farewell.